Hi, I'm Tracy, VE3TWM. Thank you for tuning in to Outdoors on the Air. So Tim, November 9 Sierra Alpha Bravo, excuse me, upon my request, built me a custom, this is a half square antenna for 15 meters. And I'm going to make sure that I add to the video when I do it a diagram that will show you what a half square looks like. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat this morning. But what we've got here, I'm actually going to lay it out the way it's going to be set up. What we've got here is I've got a quarter wave up one side. I've got a half wave vertically, or sorry, let's start that again. I've got a quarter wave that's going to run up from the ground on 15 meters up vertically, up a pole. I've got a half wave of wire, and you'll notice that here's the feed point. So quarter wave coming out from the feed point. If you can imagine, they call it a half square because it literally looks like a half square. First side, the left side, a half wave running along the top horizontally and then down at a 90-degree angle, another quarter wave. And this has to be installed in fairly rigid fashion. You can't just be too loosey-goosey with it in order for it to work properly. I tried this antenna last year at Field Day. I didn't publish anything that I did with it because I couldn't get the SWR down within resonance with, let's say, anything below 2 to 1. And I was concerned by that, so I pulled it down. I didn't do anything, but this year I'm going to try again. Now, after having had multiple conversations with Tim, I'm just going to move these out of the way. Oh, actually, these zip ties I used last year with the installation, so don't pay much attention to those. After some back and forth with Tim on it, I'm going to use a wide range tuner this year. And I should have prefaced all of this by saying that the half square has a tremendous reputation, even though it's a little tricky to set up. And by the way, the feed line has to come away at a 90-degree angle over here. Vertical down, half wave, quarter wave vertical down the other side. That has to come away at a 90-degree angle, or as close to that as possible. The half square is well known for DX capabilities, very low angle radiation. So I was curious how it would work during Field Day, where the vast majority of contacts tend to be North America. Now, I always seem to have an issue getting out to the West Coast on whatever bands I happen to be working on. So I thought, well, maybe I can get out to the West Coast, and who knows, maybe I can even make some DX contacts during Field Day. I've wanted to give this a try, and so this year with a wide range tuner, I won't be using the FC30 tuner that the Yaesu FT-891 has, but I've actually brought along an LDG AT100 Pro 2 tuner that I'm going to be using with it. Let's see how it goes. But the tricky part is the installation, particularly because I'm going to be setting this up alone. So I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. A number of years ago, during the CQ Worldwide single sideband contest, I set up a 20-meter half square that I had Tim and 9SAB build for me. And I was getting off my Yaesu FT-817 in the middle of a busy band during a crowded contest. I made contacts in France, excuse me. I made contacts, one more. Have a good day, folks. I made contacts in France without spending a whole lot of time, but that antenna, I used fiberglass poles. 3 of them. I had a couple of jackites and I think my spider beam, and it took me about an hour and a half to set up. That was a long time, and I thought to myself, But when Tim sent me the 15 meter, and I'm fascinated by this antenna, I'm thinking to myself, is there a better way, a faster way to set up this sophisticated antenna? I need two supports for the vertical sections. Of course, the supports have to be a half wavelength apart. Over there, I need a third support for the feed line, which is coming away from the antenna at a 90-degree angle, or as close to that as possible. So I need three separate supports. It's kind of tricky, and so what I'm going to try is this. I have my military fiberglass masts, and so what I've done is I've taken I've got three here that I am going to stack together, and that's going to give me the needed height for the vertical sections. And so I brought along 9 of these, so that would be one section right there. The other thing I thought I might do, because when you get working with this stuff, typically what you do is you guy it down. Well, that's an awful lot of guy lines, and that's an awful lot of work. That's an awful lot of work. So what I thought I would try this time, and this is all an experiment. I haven't done this before, so I'm learning as I go. And by the way, this is one of the things I really love about coming out, and having a weekend by myself, nobody else, no family commitments. And I love camping with family. Don't get me wrong about that. But when I'm out by myself, I can spend some time. I can put in a little bit more time, and I can learn as I go. And I learn as much through failure as I do from success, probably more. So what I thought I would try this time to eliminate the guy wire side of things, which of course I would use paracord for, is use some rebar. Now, what I'm thinking is I'm going to pound the rebar into the ground, and I'm going to start with the first one. Now, I can't just lay out 2 sections of rebar, put the antenna on the pole, and then drop the poles on top. I mean, that sounds incredibly simple, but what we forget is that there's a fixed length in between the 2 of them, and you need to maintain that tautness between. And so that's going to be challenging with one person. If you had 2 people, this is not a problem. But if it's just me, and it is just me, I've got to figure a way around that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten the far vertical quarter wave section to the first mast. I'll put the rebar in the ground, I will hammer it in, and then I'll slide that over top. And then I think what I'll do is with the second section, because I'm going to need some slack in the half wave section that comes across horizontally, I'm going to put a loop at the top of the, I'll just use a zip tie with a loop at the top of the second vertical military mast, and then run the antenna through there. I'm thinking as I go here, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So I've got some work cut out ahead of me. My objective here is to see, okay, can I get this done in a reasonable amount of time? I'm kind of running out of time because it's 11:45 right now. When I say running out of time, what I mean is for the official start of the contest, which is 2 o'clock my time. And I'm not so concerned about that. If I'm not 100% ready to go when the contest starts, and I'll just continue what I'm doing. Another thing that I've got to be concerned about is that I'm in a shady location. But in another hour, an hour and a half, the sun's going to be right overhead. It's going to start baking out here, so I really want to be done by then. And if I haven't done what I need to do within an hour and a half, I haven't saved myself a whole lot of effort. Anyway, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll come back to you once I've got the antenna up. I'll show you what I've done and explain how I've done it. Wish me luck. Okay, I want to show you what I've done with the top here. So I've got one zip tie tied right around the tip of this military pole, and you can see, you might be able to see that it's narrower right at the top where the next pole, should I want to put another one on top, would slide onto, and then you've got the full width for the rest of the pole. So I've fastened a zip tie right around there tight so that it won't slip down. I've now got two zip ties because the zip ties I had weren't long enough, and they're looped together, and the whole thinking here is that if I need to, as I'm putting the mast on the rebar on the second vertical support, that I could move this back and forth as I'm getting everything together. So I measure out the distance on the ground, but that I need the half wave between the two pieces of rebar, and by doing this I should have enough slack to be able to, once I've got the second piece of rebar in at the correct distance, slide the fiberglass pole with this at the top, and this part hanging down. It'll be hanging down like this with the matching unit on the other side, getting it over onto the rebar and then pulling it through so that I maintain the tautness on the horizontal half wave section while still allowing me to put the fiberglass pole on the rebar. Well, that's the theory. Let's see how it works. Okay, rebar is in and the first pole is installed with the junction of the first quarter wave element and the horizontal element, and you might be able to see the green rebar that I've pounded into the ground a little bit further down. Now it's time to deploy the second mast and see how this part goes. Okay, I've repositioned the rebar, and at this point it's a pretty good idea, I think, for a safety tip. First of all, when working with the rebar, make sure that you're wearing some good leather gloves or something that's going to protect your hands. I'm clumsy, and so sometimes I make mistakes. Have a good day. And I'm gonna miss. The rebar is a small target, and depending upon what you're using as a hammer, you may miss too, and you don't want to smack your hand. I'll show you what I've been using. You know, it is June, and so this is actually a multi-purpose. It's a hatchet, right? It's Estwing, made in the USA. None of that Chinese crap for this guy, if I'll avoid it. But I've been using that to hammer, and probably not the best choice because the striking surface is pretty small. If you have a club hammer, I don't own a club hammer. I brought along a sledgehammer, but I've got a little bit of repetitive strain in my left hand, which is my dominant hand. So I opted to use this rather than the heavy sledgehammer. Also, I've noticed that shards are coming off the rebar as I'm striking it, and you probably should be wearing eye protection. I didn't bring any, so I'm not, and I'm hoping to heck that I don't get something in my eye. Just a couple of safety notes. Okay, I've repositioned the rebar. I'm going to see how it goes this time when I put the military mast up. That's pretty darn good. Let's give you a close-up. So there's what it looks like. You can see it's darn near perfect. Now what I have to do is pull away the coax at a 90-degree angle, and then finally anchor the ends of the quarter wave vertical sections. That won't take me very long, I don't think. Okay, it's a crowded campsite. I'm literally back up against the bushes here at the far end, trying to give you an overall view of the half square. Hopefully you can see the 3 military fiberglass poles, which are green of course and blend quite nicely into the environment. And what I have done is the third pole is, if you look about the midpoint of the orange tarp, you can see it peeking up. And I've got the coax pulled away at pretty close to that 90-degree angle which is specified. I used a zip tie loop just to run the coax through, and then I've just taken some electrical tape and taped it off on the pole to maintain the tautness. Of course, I weatherproofed, we were only out here for a couple days, I weatherproofed the connection of the coax by tightly wrapping electrical tape around it. I want to show you next what I've done with the bottom ends of the vertical quarter wave elements. This is not according to spec. As you can see, I've pulled the vertical quarter wave element at the end away from the fiberglass mast. And the reason I did this is because the fiberglass mast, I've got 3 of them stacked together. That's a total of 4 feet each, so it's about 12 feet high. And it's not quite long enough for the 15 meter. And I didn't just want to leave the excess lying on the ground. So I pulled them this way. I've done the same thing at the far end. Now I am going to be using a wide-ranging tuner with the antenna, so I think it'll be okay. But it will be interesting to see what kind of results I get, because this is of course not an ideal installation. It's a temporary installation. I'm only out here for a couple of days, and it's an experiment. And you know, I love to experiment with antennas. So the one other thing that I will show you is I've got some hydro wires, power wires running along the road. You hear those cars going by. That's all the noise that comes along every once in a while. And I'm wondering what the interaction is going to be like with the antenna. Okay, I alluded to the power lines, and there's another vehicle. Have a nice day. Alluded to the power lines, and here you can see the proximity. Now they're probably, I don't know, 40 feet away maybe, but it runs along the road, which runs parallel to the dimensions of this campsite. It's what I have to work with, and so we're going to see how, or what kind of effect, if any, that the power lines have. Now, I did notice with a mini Windham that I've set up the same weekend, I'm not getting much electrical noise at all. Not a lot of QRM from them, so hopefully the same will be true, especially on being on a higher band, but we're going to find out. Okay, I guess now it's time to put it to the test and see how it tunes up and what kind of results we get with it. When I say we, I mean me. Well, color me surprised. I just did an SWR check on the half square using my Yaesu FT-891. You can see the LDG AT100 Pro 2 tuner underneath. That tuner is not connected. And what I'm finding is that the SWR is 1.7 to 1 or less across the entirety of 15 meters. And in fact, anywhere below 21,350, the SWR is at or below 1.5 to 1. Bonus!
I've got Victor Echo 3.
Victor Echo 3, Tango Whiskey Mike.
Victor Echo 3, Tango Whiskey Mike. Please copy 3 Oscar North Texas.
QSL, copy 1 Bravo, Oscar November Sierra.
Okay, I've got the November, Oscar November Sierra. I need your class.
1 Bravo, QSL.
Copy the 1 Bravo. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, good luck.
7-3, I believe there was a 2-tone.
Just going back to the half square again, I fired up the 897,
November 2 Foxtrot, you two
and
Alpha,
I've
Virgin
tuned in
Islands.
the same guy from Virgin Islands, and I haven't got the
November 2
attenuator
Foxtrot, you
on,
two Alpha, Virgin Islands.
and his signal strength reading is actually below
November
what I'm
2,
getting on the
November 2 station again.
FT-891 on the half square. So I think the half square is doing something.
Yeah, who is it? November 2, November 2?
This guy has certainly got a lot of fading on his signal. He's
Okay, November 2 Foxtrot, November 2
He's getting
Foxtrot,
up
you
to
two
about
Alpha, Virgin Islands.
7 S units on that last transmission. Actually, it's pretty comparable to what I was getting on the half square, which I think was up around S8. Okay, just comparing, right? Because this is how we try to determine, okay, you know, the effort that went into putting up the half square. Is it worth it? And unfortunately, this is a limited sample size. You know, field day, I've got just a number of hours to be able to do it versus weeks or even longer. So I don't know. As it turned out, 15 meters was a real mess across North America on field day. Rapid fading of signals made for challenging conditions, so I cannot pin the blame for only a handful of contacts made using the half square on the antenna. Conversely, I am looking forward to using this antenna during a large international contest. Until that time, back in the bag it will go until the opportunity arises. So what are your thoughts on the half square? Please leave a comment below and let me know what you think or what your experiences have been with half square antennas. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, now it's your turn. Get out of the shack, get outdoors, and get on the air. 7-3 from Tracy, VE3, TWM.